Have you noticed it too? That strange emptiness behind familiar faces, that unsettling sense that the world looks the same, yet somehow feels unreal. The smiles don't reach the eyes, the conversations feel scripted, the routine continues, but nothing carries life. You try to shake it off. Maybe it's stress, maybe fatigue, maybe just another restless night. That's what you tell yourself. That's what everyone tells themselves. But deep down, you know this isn't normal. This isn't random. Something is happening to you. The truth is, awakening never begins with light. It doesn't start with joy or bliss or visions of heaven. It begins with discomfort, with dissonance, with the quiet sense that reality itself doesn't quite add up. That's why everything feels off. It's not that the world has suddenly changed. It's that you are beginning to see it clearly, maybe for the first time. This is the first sign, the gnawing realization that reality feels scripted. Like you're walking through a performance where everyone else plays their role, unaware that it's only a stage. And the longer you stay aware, the harder it becomes to play along. It's disorienting. It's lonely. Sometimes it even feels like madness, but it's not. It's clarity trying to break through. And once you feel it, there is no way back. You can't unsee the cracks in the mask. You can't return to sleep when you've already started to wake. So the question becomes, if the story you've been told is breaking apart, what is the truth that waits underneath? The second sign reveals itself quietly, almost invisibly, yet once you recognize it, you can't escape it. It's the sudden collapse of meaning in things that once seemed important. The job, the endless chase for status, the constant need to be seen. Suddenly, it all feels hollow. What once kept you moving now leaves you empty. You sit in a meeting or scroll through your feed or laugh at a joke you've heard 100 times, and deep down there's only silence. Not peace, emptiness. A subtle echo inside whispering, is this really it? This is not depression, this is not apathy. It is the beginning of detachment. Because awakening strips away illusions, and the first illusions to collapse are always the ones you've been taught to worship. Success, recognition, validation, the trophies of a world built to keep you asleep. And when they fall apart in your hands, it feels like loss. But in truth, it is space being made for something deeper. The third sign follows close behind, an increase in sensitivity. Colors feel sharper, sounds seem louder, crowded rooms feel suffocating. The very environments you used to tolerate now leave you exhausted. Why? Because your nervous system is no longer numb. Awakening reopens what sleep has dulled. You are beginning to feel, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. You notice pain in others you never saw before. You sense dishonesty without words. You carry an empathy that is both a gift and a burden. It's overwhelming at first. You think something is wrong with you. But this sensitivity is not weakness. It's the calibration of your soul. It's the tuning of an instrument that had been muted for too long. And though it's painful, it's also proof you are moving closer to the real. So yes, things feel off. But maybe that's because, for the first time, you're starting to feel them as they truly are. The fourth sign arrives like a quiet haunting. The world feels strangely empty, and yet you begin to sense that you are not alone. You walk through familiar places, and something inside whispers that unseen eyes are watching. Not with malice, but with presence. It's as if reality itself has grown thinner, like a veil that no longer fully hides what's beyond. You notice synchronicities, numbers repeating, words you needed to hear appearing at just the right time, chance encounters that feel scripted. The rational mind insists these are coincidences, but your soul knows better. This is the language of awakening, patterns where once there was only noise. The fifth sign often unsettles the mind even more. You begin to question time. Days feel shorter, weeks blur, and moments slip through your hands as though the clock has lost its grip on you. Or sometimes the opposite happens. A single second stretches endlessly, as if reality itself has paused. This distortion isn't madness. It's a symptom of your perception detaching from the rigid structure of the dream. You are beginning to experience time as it truly is, not linear, but elastic, bending and shifting with your awareness. These signs feel destabilizing, even frightening, because when the familiar rules break, so does your sense of control. You ask yourself, am I losing my mind? But what you're losing is not your mind. It's the prison your mind was built to inhabit. And here comes the sixth sign, an undeniable pull inward. The parties, the noise, the endless distractions no longer call to you the way they used to. You crave silence. You crave solitude. Not as escape, but as refuge. The world outside feels chaotic, but the world within, though equally turbulent, feels alive. This solitude is not loneliness, it is a homecoming. The silence begins to feel less like absence and more like presence. And in that stillness, you start to hear something faint, something ancient, something that sounds like you. The seventh sign strikes at the very core of who you think you are, the collapse of identity. One day, without warning, the mask you've worn for years begins to slip. The roles you've played, the obedient child, the reliable friend, the ambitious professional, no longer fit. You try to wear them, but they feel heavy, foreign, almost absurd. People still call you by the same name, but inside you wonder, who is that really? This unraveling terrifies the ego, because the ego is built on continuity, on the story that says you've always been the same person, moving forward in time. But awakening rips holes in that narrative. You realize you are not the character. You are the awareness behind it. And once you feel that, even for a second, the illusion of identity begins to crumble. And with this collapse comes the eighth sign, conflict. Not with others, but within yourself. Part of you wants to go back to sleep, to fit in again, to laugh at the same jokes, to find comfort in the same distractions. But another part refuses. That part has tasted something real, and it will not let you return. This conflict manifests as restlessness, as nights spent awake with 1,000 questions, as days when nothing makes sense but everything feels urgent. You are caught between worlds, too awake to belong to the old one, but not yet steady enough to live fully in the new. It is here that many falter. They numb themselves, convince themselves they imagined it all, or drown in fear. But if you can endure the storm, if you can hold the tension without collapsing, you discover something extraordinary. This leads to the ninth sign, the birth of a new perception. Slowly, subtly, you begin to see not just the cracks in the illusion, but the light shining through them. Conversations may still be shallow, but you catch glimpses of soul in the eyes of strangers. The world may still feel broken, but beauty leaks through in moments so small and perfect, it takes your breath away. And then you realize, the world has not changed. You have. Awakening is not a switch you flip. It is a slow burning away of everything that isn't real. And by the time you reach this stage, the signs no longer feel like random disturbances. They begin to weave together, forming a pattern too precise to ignore. You look back, and the thread is clear. The discomfort, the emptiness, the heightened sensitivity, the distortions of time, the craving for solitude, the collapse of identity, all of it has been preparing you for this, the recognition that you are not who you thought you were. This realization is both liberating and terrifying, because if you are not the roles, not the names, not the masks, then who are you? At first, the question gnaws at you like hunger. You search for answers in books, in teachings, in voices wiser than yours. And while they may point you in the right direction, none of them can give you the answer. Because the answer is not information, it is experience. And experience demands that you let go. You let go of the old comforts, even when they ache. You let go of the validation that once fueled you. You let go of the need to always understand. And in the space left behind, something else begins to rise. It comes not as a voice, but as a knowing, a quiet sense of alignment, the way your chest feels lighter in the presence of truth, even if you can't explain it, the way certain choices drain you and others restore you, regardless of logic, the way silence begins to feel more nourishing than words. This is the heart of awakening, learning to trust resonance over reason, to follow the pulse of the soul even when the mind resists. And the more you trust it, the more reality responds. Synchronicities grow louder, paths open. You meet people at the exact moment you need them. What once felt like chaos begins to reveal itself as orchestration. It is then you understand. Things don't feel off because the world is broken. They feel off because the veil is breaking. And for the first time, you're seeing through it. By now, the signs are no longer isolated moments. They begin to overlap, to echo one another, to form a rhythm in your life. Awakening becomes less of an event and more of a lens through which you see everything. But this lens is not always comfortable. It sharpens the edges of reality. It strips away illusions you once depended on, and it forces you to live differently, whether you're ready or not. The first change you notice is in your relationships. You can no longer play roles just to keep the peace. Small talk drains you. Pretending feels heavy. You crave conversations that move below the surface, that touch the soul. And when they don't, you feel the silence between the words more strongly than the words themselves. Some people fade from your life quietly. Others resist, accuse, or mock the shifts they see in you. And while part of you aches for their approval, another part knows this separation is necessary. Awakening doesn't make you superior. It makes you incompatible with sleep. The second change appears in your priorities. You no longer chase the same goals because they no longer hold meaning. Achievements feel shallow. Recognition feels empty. Instead, you begin to crave presence. You seek experiences that expand your awareness, not your status. You measure success not in applause, but in alignment. And then, the third change comes from within, a strange sense of calm in the midst of chaos. You may still feel doubt, still wrestle with fear, but beneath it all is a foundation that wasn't there before. A subtle knowing that no matter what unravels, something deeper in you remains untouched. This calm doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender, from realizing that the same intelligence guiding the stars is guiding you, that the cracks in your reality aren't signs of collapse, they're openings for light. And once you glimpse this, life stops feeling like something happening to you. It begins to feel like something happening through you. This is the integration of awakening, not the end of discomfort, but the beginning of presence. Even as presence deepens, resistance does not vanish. In fact, the closer you move toward clarity, the louder the old voices become. The system of illusion does not surrender easily. It whispers, it tempts, it lures. You will hear it in your own mind. Doubts rising like smoke. What if this is just imagination? What if you're losing touch? What if you never fit in again? These thoughts aren't mistakes. They're echoes of the old self, fighting to survive. You will see it in the world around you. The distractions grow stronger, the noise grows louder, the systems of control amplify their stories. Fear, division, urgency. They want you reactive, they need you asleep, and you will feel it in your body. Some days, exhaustion grips you. Old habits try to reclaim you. You may crave the comfort of sleep again, the dull numbness of pretending everything is normal. This is the test. Awakening isn't about visions or blissful states. It's about endurance. It's about holding your center when the old reality claws at you to come back. It's about walking through fire and realizing the flames cannot touch what you truly are. And here's the paradox. The more you resist the resistance, the stronger it grows. But the moment you stop fighting, something shifts. You see that even resistance has a role. It shows you where you're still clinging. It exposes the places you haven't surrendered. This is the hidden gift of awakening. Every obstacle is a mirror. Every fear, every doubt, every temptation is pointing to the illusion you're ready to release. When you embrace this, resistance loses its grip. The voices may still whisper, but they no longer rule you. The distractions may still appear, but they no longer pull you. The old world may still surround you, but it no longer defines you. You begin to realize the system cannot truly control you. It can only convince you to control yourself. And once you see through that game, the illusion begins to collapse. What replaces it is not a new belief, not a new story. It's something far more dangerous to the dream: silence, presence, freedoms. And then, slowly, almost without noticing, something remarkable begins to happen. The storm quiets, the noise fades, the resistance loses its weight. What once shook you now passes through you like wind. You realize that awakening was never about escaping the world. It was about seeing it clearly. The illusions still move around you, but they no longer hold the same power. You watch the same conversations, the same dramas, the same systems, but now you see the strings, the patterns, the hidden machinery, and in that clarity, you feel a strange kind of peace. This peace is not indifference, it's not detachment, it's presence, a stillness that doesn't depend on circumstance, a calm that exists even when life is chaotic. It's as if something within you has stepped out of time, watching the play unfold without getting lost in it. The greatest shift is subtle but profound. You stop seeking. The hunger for answers, the endless searching for the next truth, the next sign, the next confirmation, it dissolves. Not because you found everything, but because you finally trust that everything you need will reveal itself when it must. Life becomes less about control and more about flow. You follow resonance instead of reason. You choose alignment over approval. You walk away from noise without guilt. And in doing so, you discover that simplicity was what your soul craved all along. And perhaps most beautiful of all, you begin to meet others who carry the same frequency. Not many, but enough. They may appear in unexpected ways, in fleeting conversations, in moments that feel guided. With them, you don't have to explain. You don't have to defend. You simply recognize, soul to soul. This is not the end of awakening. It is the beginning of living awake. The signs don't vanish, they deepen. They stop being disruptions and become directions. They stop unsettling you and start anchoring you. You are no longer lost. You are no longer asleep. You are simply here, fully. And so you arrive here, on the other side of the dissonance, carrying the weight of 9 signs that felt at first like burdens, but revealed themselves as openings. The strangeness, the emptiness, the sensitivity, the distortions of time, the solitude, the collapse of identity, the conflict, the resistance, and finally, the peace. They were never accidents. They were markers. Quiet guideposts left along the path for when your soul was ready to see them. Awakening is not about becoming someone new. It is about shedding what was never you. The roles, the masks, the illusions, the borrowed truths, one by one they fall away. And beneath them all, something timeless remains, something that was never asleep. That is who you are. And perhaps the most astonishing part is this. The world hasn't changed. The streets are the same. The conversations continue. The systems still play their endless games. But you have changed. You see through it now. And once you see, you cannot unsee. This is not the end of the journey. It is only the beginning of a different kind of living. A life guided not by fear, but by resonance. Not by illusion, but by presence. not by the need to belong, but by the courage to simply be. The question now is not whether these signs are real. You know they are. The question is, what will you do with them? Because the truth of awakening is this: it is not meant to be kept inside. It asks to be lived, breathed, shared in the way only you can, not by preaching, not by convincing, simply by embodying. And maybe, just maybe, something stirred in you as these words unfolded. A recognition, a memory, a spark. If so, let it speak. Leave it here in your own words for those who come after you, still wondering if they're the only ones who feel that something is off. Not because you have to, but because your voice might be the sign someone else is waiting for.